Today we have one of the most interesting parables that Jesus tells. And we'll read that and then I'll go on a little bit more about this crazy parable. I suppose I can look at you while I read it. So you can follow along if you'd like. From Luke 16, the Holy Gospel. Jesus told this story to his disciples. There was a rich man who had a manager, and charges were brought against that manager, that the manager was squandering the rich man's property. So the rich man summoned his manager and said to him, "What is this I hear about you? Give me an accounting of your management, because you're fired. You can't be my manager any longer." The manager said to himself, what will I do now that my master has taken this position away from me? I'm not strong enough to dig, and I'm too ashamed to beg. I've got it. I know what I'll do. When I'm dismissed as manager, people will welcome me into their homes. So, summoning his master's debtors one by one, he asked the first, "How much do you owe my master?" 100 jugs of olive oil. He said to him, "Take your bill, sit down quickly and make it 50. Then he asked another, "How much do you owe?" He replied, 100 containers of wheat. And he said, "Well, take your bill and make it 80. His master commanded this dishonest manager because he had acted shrewdly. For the children of this age are more shrewd in dealing with their own generation than are the children of light. I will tell you, make friends for yourselves by means of dishonest wealth, so that when it's gone, they may welcome you into the eternal homes. Whoever is faithful in very little is also faithful in much. And whoever is dishonest in very little is also dishonest in much. If then you have not been faithful with the dishonest wealth, who will entrust to you the true riches? If you've not been faithful in what belongs to another, who will give you what is your own? No slave can serve two masters. For a slave will either hate the one and love the other, or to be devoted to one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and wealth. This is the gospel of the Lord. It's surely one that's hard to say without a big question mark. This is the gospel of the Lord? Jesus tells some very interesting and funny stories. Some actually kind of funny. This one is more perplexing than anything. I liken this Sunday for both preachers and listeners as one of the toughest. I keep thinking, why didn't I take vacation this Sunday instead of next Sunday? I think this is one of Jesus's most difficult and controversial parables. Really, nobody knows nobody can agree on, I should say it that way. Nobody can agree on exactly what Jesus's point is here. And I have to say, I go along with them. I don't quite get it myself. Here he is commending a lying, cheating businessman who's trying to schmooze his way into coming out as a success. I mean, no cute kid stories or children's messages to be made out of that. And surely, this could be one of the most outrageous and crazy parables Jesus has ever told. Here's this man, this manager, who's been given charge of a rich businessman's stuff. And he has utilized and then reallocated his master's money in order to get himself out of a jam. Now, note up front that when the charges are brought to the master, the landowner, we don't know that they're actually true. It's just said that charges were brought. But here, the man just cuts and slashes what people owe the master and sends them on their way. Some people say that he took his own commission out of the cut and, thereby making himself relatable and likable to all those who owed money. Some say that he cheated the master out of more money and that's what makes him dishonest. But we don't know. It all kind of sounds, so to me, a little bit like headlines from our newspapers and news stories today. But what I want you to do right now, with a little help from my dear husband, do you still have that little bag?
Oh, yeah.
I want to give you all something. I wish it could be real instead of fake, but we're going to give out some money. $100 bills, even. And what I want you to do with this is look at it for a minute, and I think these still say on them, "In God we trust." I want you to think about money, because I'm going to do something just as outrageous as this parable. I'm going to have us consider, think about, and actually talk about money in church. Michelle might be a little bit more used to that than some of us. But think about it for a moment, and then think about it out loud with people next to you. But what is your relationship to money? How do you use money? Or does money use you? How does God work through what you have? Do you let God work through all that God has given you? So just consider for a moment with each other those things, or perhaps what it is about talking about money in church that we fear, or that we consider the most difficult. If you want, write down your concerns. I won't ask people to share them today, but I just want you to, as you go through this week, to take that paper with you and think about what you talk about, or what strikes you this morning, and keep it in a place where you might consider that for yourself this week. So talk amongst yourselves, if you would, and gather in small groups and do that, and I'll call you back in a couple moments.
Yeah, which feels that way.
I don't know. Come on.
Well, I always think it's so funny how churches are a business. I mean, there's building to be there, people to be paid, there's electric bills to be paid, but yet it is so taboo to.
We don't ask people.
I think that is what changed. Some people like the analogy.
Some people do, but generally
But
it's
is that
considered
only because we got to get the bad financial stuff?
That's what I
Like,
mean.
before we were in there, was it?
Like, everyone just started talking about it.
Exactly.
We're just people.
So then you start.
It just hit to the point where we had no choice but to say something.
Right.
Before then, it was just always like,
So,
and then
you
everyone's
it's
a
tough,
tough
and then you
besides like a few people that used to use or whatever, that was it.
And I
Until it was
know,
finally brought to everybody, like, listen, we're in trouble. We have a big decision to make. And now we're not feeling guilty about how we
And
can
cut something that you.
Not many churches talk about someone that they go to elders board with your financials right in for people to take
Tired.
care
You've
of.
been through there and there's now
And
spouse,
they're
they
like,
struggle, the spouse says, we need to save more, you know.
oh, that's
And
another
the
reason.
other, well, I mean, we need to give more because otherwise I think.
no, and for me
Gotta
personally,
provide later on in life, so.
like, that is my big standing point on church. I just feel that it is so wrong to ask people to put names next to your donation amount, because like you said, I want to go to church because of, like, the good, and I want to offer what I want to offer.
Yeah,
I don't
right.
ever want mind, well, wow, they're
And you
one of
wonder
the
how to
biggest
make,
givers in the church, so
Giving.
somehow you're better than me,
Or-
or you don't give anything, and
you know, that
you
line
need to
item.
sacrifice a little bit.
Yeah, I've seen you go on
Car
vacation,
payment,
yeah,
and
you're
then
out
how do you,
there,
you know,
this much money, yeah, so it's
can you or how do you
definitely.
make that part of that?
Well, and it just, for me, it just goes so against what church is supposed to be. Whereas if, I think one of the things, like with the projector, you know, Pam was like, oh, the projector needs to be fixed, we need to fix the projector. And that is, so I don't think that people have a problem with seeing the church as a business, but it is such a
From that, I've been able to.
little white line that is so thin that you have to go through before. Right.
And I do think people are smart, you know, now always have money, my friends who make a little money, and they always talk about how they
Just like,
they just, there's
I
a
have
little
a hard
hard
time
time,
to,
how we
you know,
can.
shouldn't be able to do what I'm
I
asking
can't
for,
afford
is
to
not
now.
the way to say.
And, you know, they share what they make, so I know. And, but I think they just get in that mindset, the more you make, the more you spend, the priority.
Yeah, the priorities
is
aren't
lost.
there.
And, you know, when you're like,
You have to have that faith.
Starbucks, I'm saying, in the morning.
Yeah, right.
But if that's your thing, then you can very well.
We're working.
As I tell my kids, our city moderation, I don't care what it is.
We were trying to teach people
Shopping,
a budget. Some people don't operate with that in their daily.
Right.
you know, one divided.
But a
We were
budget
talking
is
about
a moral document.
kids savings last night.
Does that make
On
sense?
Wednesday, we went to the.
Right? It shows what we believe in.
But,
So,
for like
the
young
state,
kids
for
coming in the
example,
business world, when they're not
the
used
state
to
says it will pay for 51
You're
years.
giving away
money,
money,
right?
right.
They can't give it to you, just put it in your match. And my
The state of Illinois
kids
doesn't
said,
really do that.
That's the now, but you know,
So
It's like getting a 10%,
yes,
Because
it's
obviously they
like
haven't kept their
now.
commitments.
right.
To make sure.
And later, but
um,
the same thing with
so
when
when-
your time and your money.
when we were
People
trying to
are
talk
afraid
about
to
the-
donate their time to something they
The
never
budget
did.
was a moral
Never went to the
document.
elderly
It really
place
says,
or
you
to
know, you
Lazarus house, right?
You put your money where your heart is, and once you heart where your money is,
Right.
really, it says what you really believe in. So you
And I
can
think
read
that's
about
a
it,
little bit with
but
finances.
it's how you do it.
Well, and I think with the
Really speaks
finances
to what you
too,
believe in.
like you have to tell people of your needs before, because I think before everybody knew like what the structure was. There was a huge, and then all of a sudden when everybody, oh, you need more, okay, well, we have to give more then.
And people know that when they try
Well, that
to
too,
do it.
because you think you're going, I mean,
It
you are
doesn't
wanting
necessarily.
what I can, what I can, and also you're going,
Right.
well then, I know I'm only one person, but if I can save this much money, I just need to live there,
One couple.
maybe somebody else is like,
Right.
let's do this, where this is dire need.
He's a truck driver.
Because we brought it up.
We'll take a
Brought it up.
whoop,
And
and
look
then
at
I
this.
lost my job in '09. I mean,
And
then
some
I get
people
divorced, so
don't, they don't know.
trying to keep my head above
They're
water.
thinking what they're giving is just totally
They
coming,
do
but
it up,
if once they know,
we can do it now. Why don't you
And I
go
think
to
with
London?
finances in
No,
church,
don't add money.
I always think
And
it's so
I thought, I'm not
funny
gonna
that
cut into my money here.
people are so spontaneous with their giving.
Mhm.
So at Stevenson High School, which is a big high school, I think we have 4,000 kids. And on 9/11, the day of September 11th, they had a thing that like went over the PA at the third hour saying, there's been a problem in New York, we're asking you, you know, if whatever extra spare change you have in your pocket that day. I think we came up with $20,000 that day. Well, now I'm with really rich kids, so just took their parents' gold cards and said, hey, but that's the whole thing. If you were to say, give extra money for the food shelters, but when he brings in those little empty M&M things, everybody's like, oh, I know what to do that, I can do that. Like, so I think
I'll
that
let you have finish.
telling people
Extract myself here.
what you need, or the spare change thing, we probably make a lot more money than if we would just write in the thing,
Yeah.
please give a little extra more this week for me.
Or the-
Thanks for being willing to do that. Yeah, the church.
So you're the treasurer, you're our spokesperson in case they have to ask you to say. Thanks for your
Is that what you are now, treasurer?
I'm actually.
You're in financial secretary.
financial secretary, and so
Board of Trustees.
sorry.
There has to be a balance.
You were the monopoly
Yeah,
member.
right. That's right.
Wish I still had.
Yeah,
Well, I wish I could have really given you all, $100 bills, but working, although, you know, we could spread a rumor. Oh, no, that wouldn't be very godlike, would it? That we're giving out money here.
Well, we could say that we gave out $100
You
and
did
just
not-
leave off
you did not
the
get
part
money
that it
from
was
us,
fake
right?
money. And so come to contemporary services, you never know what you're gonna get on a Sunday.
Yeah.
There actually was a congregation that I heard about one time that actually gave people money and did it a couple of times. And the first time they gave people money, they really encouraged them to grow that money. That's a different parable than the one we have today. And another time they gave them that money and really encouraged them to consider, like today, how best we use that money. My point in this exercise is really not to make people uncomfortable or to take us really places that we didn't want to go, but I thank you for having conversation around this. I think it's difficult for a lot of different reasons. But I told the first crew, 1/3 of all the parables that Jesus told, which are about 40 some, give or take, 1/3 of all the parables are about money. It's a predominant subject for the New Testament. And that raises the question of why. And I think it's no stranger today to people that money is a struggle. I mean, whether you have a lot or little, it's a struggle. And what I really think in the telling of this parable, what I've come out with it, because it's difficult across the board, is that I don't think Jesus talks so much about money because Jesus wants your money. But Jesus also doesn't want your money to use you. Jesus doesn't want your money to control you. Jesus wants you to think about money in the way that it's usable. It's a temporary thing. Can't take it with us, right? That's what we always hear. Can't take it with us. And we can't. We can't take the things it buys with us. So the parable today is really begging the question of what is important in life. And one of the things, what did the manager do? What did the dishonest manager do? He said to himself, what was he going to do? He was going to call his master's debtors together. And what did he do? He slashed their bills, right? But for what purpose?
To appreciate favor.
Yeah, to create favor with them. To have, so that he would have maybe a place to live when he's kicked out on his butt, right? So when he's not making any money, he at least has some favor. He has relationships built and networks made. Now, we may look at that and say, well, what a weasel. That's not very Christian-like, right? But I think Jesus' point about talking about the children of the light versus the children not of the light, that the point is that he wants us, says, look, money's a part of this world. Relationships are a part of this world. We need to use money in a way that sometimes our hands are going to get dirty. But use the money for right things. Now, what are those right things? Sometimes that's hard to know, right? Sometimes we might give thinking we're helping or we're giving to an organization that's helping others. Sometimes it turns out that it's not. Sometimes we give thinking we're helping a person on the street and they go and use it for something else, and we're not. But our intentions are good, correct? Right? And so we're giving of ourselves, whether that be money or things, in order to not just create relationships of purpose for ourselves, but to create and use what God has first given us. To create and build those relationships. To use the money or the things in ways that is life-giving, not just to ourselves, but to others. Money and its place in our lives, it says a lot about us. Money is a timeless discussion. The forms of currency may change, but the principles of financing our finances remain the same. It's a language that everyone speaks or knows about, right? No matter what country or group of people you've got in front of you, valuing currency is material things is something that every culture knows about. Everyone struggles, rich or poor. You can be greedy whether you have $3 or $3 billion, right? There was a time when I was in college, my brothers had this friend who came from a very wealthy family, and one time as we were getting ready to start school, he pulls up in this very expensive sports car. And everyone's oohing and eyeing over this thing, and he gets out kind of sheepish, really, and says to us, "Well, I'm just broke on a higher level." So our attitude about money reveals our heart better than just about anything else in life. Think about that for a minute. It reveals what we love. We were talking over here about a budget as a moral document, because you put your money where your mouth is, right? Or what you say you believe in, what you say you love. It reveals who you love, right? Sometimes we spend all our money on people we care about. Again, that might not always be the best thing, but it states a lot about where our heart is. It reveals our priorities. It reveals what we think about most often. And it may reveal those things in which we find our worth, or where we place worth. So I ask you this week to really consider what rules your heart. Money can be used for good or for evil. Money can be used in very terrible ways or very powerful ways. I mean, we certainly see, as we look out in our headlines of today, two very rich people running for position of power of our nation. How is their money being used? Is it being used to help others or hurt others? Is the fact that they have money what we should be looking at in terms of how we consider what they will be able to do to help people in this country? All of those things are related to this, but are not just of this lesson. I think what Jesus is saying to us is that we are to be shrewd with our use of money. And that requires knowing just what I asked you, where is our heart? Knowing who and whom we serve. Can't serve both wealth and God. If we serve wealth for its own sake, we'll fail. But if we serve God and shrewdly use what God has given us for God's purposes, we can enjoy the blessings of this life. The blessings of this life are people and not just things. But we can also then enjoy the things with those people. We have so much responsibility, and as Christians, we sometimes take for granted or put aside some of these worldly things because we don't want to get our hands dirty. And I think what Jesus is saying by commending this manager, and I may be wrong, the things of this world mean that sometimes we're going to fall down or make mistakes or get our hands dirty. But just do something. Make a decision. Take a stand. And do it with God in heart and mind. And God, who is faithful and just, will forgive what may happen. God will forgive us. God will redeem a situation and work it for good. So this week, consider what it is you trust in and in whom you trust. Amen.